Well, hey there, my friend. Welcome back to the show. My name is Deanna Yates, and you are listening to episode 246 of the Wannabe Clutter Free podcast. On today's episode, I am chatting with Gab Saper. She's a personal stylist based out of New York, and we are going to talk about decluttering your closet, but from a personal stylist perspective. So she's going to help us with knowing what to keep, what to let go of, how we deal with sentimental clothing items in our closet, and her tips for how we can start to go through these closet edits in a way that is not overwhelming. It's a great episode, and I think you're going to love it. I know that you guys always love when I have people talk about our closets and fashion and clothing and things like that. So it's another great one, to make sure you check it out. But as always, before we jump into it, I want to say a quick thank you to you for joining me today. I hope you enjoy this episode and you keep coming back for more. And if you do love this episode, go ahead and leave it a quick thumbs up, rating, review, star, wherever you're listening to a podcast. There's generally a way that you can give some love back to the show. And if that's on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, even better, those are the biggest. And also consider subscribing to the show so you don't miss any episodes that are coming out, because I do have a great lineup planned for you going into 2025. And finally, thank you for being part of the community. I love being able to connect with podcast listeners. So if you do want to connect, come on over to Instagram. I'm Wannabe Clutter Free on the social channels, or you can join a conversation in our private Facebook group, the Wannabe Minimalist Family Group. All right, let's learn a little bit about my guest today before we jump into our conversation. Gab Saper is a personal stylist who helps you uncover the coolest, hottest, best version of yourself through what you are putting on your body. Drawing on her experience in fashion merchandising, media, and tech, she helps you dress in a way that commands respect at work and turns every head at the restaurant. One of the primary ways she does this is by flipping typical style advice on its head. She'll never advise you to keep up with the trends, and she believes deeply that horizontal stripes are for everyone. We get into this into the show, so make sure you check it out. Gab lives in Greenwich Village with her husband and children, and by children, she means handbags. Some of her favorite things include an empty inbox, spicy margaritas, and laughing out loud at a podcast. She was once featured in the New York Times for her very tiny, very organized apartment. And now, let's get to our conversation. Hi, Gab. Welcome to Wanna Be Clutter Free. How you doing today?
I'm great. Really happy to be here.
Oh, I'm thrilled to have you. Clothing is always a big topic. My listeners love getting, advice on what to declutter, what to keep in their closets, how to style things and put it all together. So I'm very excited to have you here today. But for people that don't know about you, can you introduce yourself and tell us about what you do?
Absolutely. I am Gab Saper, founder of Wardrobe Editor, a personal styling consultancy based in New York City, but I have clients all over the country I travel to, and I work with virtually as well. I primarily work with professional millennial women, a lot of whom are moms. I know that's your audience, so I deal a lot with pregnancy, post-pregnancy, like all those cycles of what to keep and get rid of. I'm sure we'll get into that at some point. And my big focus is body acceptance and making fashion fun. I know for a lot of women, especially as you enter your 30s and 40s, your body is different. It starts to feel hard and not fun. And I want to help people kind of turn that back around and make fashion feel fun, exciting, like self-expression, and even maybe if we do it really well, a form of self-care.
Oh, I love that. Well, and I will say for myself, right? It's so hard. You go through so many changes. As you just grow up, right? As you just go through your 20s, 30s, 40s, even if you don't become a mom, those are some very different life stages. And then as becoming a mother, it just adds another layer of complexity onto it. And then, yeah, you grow a human being, your body's going to change. It's going to be different. It goes through different hormonal phases and all the things. And I am not a doctor, so I don't know all the correct terms to use, but just from someone who has gone through it, it's different. And just things don't line up the same way they do, post childbirth.
Totally. Yeah, that's so well said. And it's funny because I do not have kids and don't plan to have kids, but have so many moms in my life, both from my clients and, my friends and family. So I've seen the process happen so many times and also seen all the different ways it can manifest. Like for some people, the change is in their chest. For some people, it's in their hips. For other people, it's in their arms and legs. And they're like, what do you mean? I didn't get pregnant in my arm. Why is this happening? So it's really important to just remember that everyone who gets pregnant has a completely different experience before and after. And it forces you to kind of just roll with the punches and accept, because you cannot predict how your body will change. And, you're just going to have to wait and see to find out.
Yeah, for sure. And, as we get older, stress plays a big role, in our lives and our different working environments and all sorts of stuff. So I'm very excited to have you here. But before we get into all of that fun stuff that we're going to talk about, I want to know how you first discovered the connection between decluttering and personal style, because we're just going to start with why these two things go together.
Yes, absolutely. And I will say these are like my two biggest life passions. And it's so crazy and fun that they both get to be my job, because they really do feed each other. I always say you won't wear what you can't see. You won't. You will not. If it's not in front of your eyes, you're not going to remember that it's there. And that's the foundation for me for building any organizational system or redoing a closet for any client. And, there are circumstances in which they have more stuff that can fit in the space. So we figure that out. But that's really what it comes down to. How your closet is set up dictates what you actually put on your body. If there is something you love and you can't see it, you're most likely not going to just remember that it's there.
So true. Okay. So are you one of those people though that then likes, and how do you feel about drawers? Or as you're saying this, I'm like, okay, what happens if it's hidden behind something? So is this just because you don't want it to be buried? And so you have a definitive organized system? Or do you like to be able to see everything?
I mean, in a dream world, everyone has one room where everything is hung up and you can see it all at once, but that's not how we live. So, yeah, I mean, drawers are not what I mean when I say if you can't see it. It's more like the people who, there's especially like New York closets are so crazy. There sometimes will be like little sections that you literally cannot see unless you like crane your neck and get all in there. I have one like that in my closet too. That's where I keep my formal occasion dresses. And every time I need one, I literally go in there and I'm like, oh, I forgot about you. I forgot about you. I forgot about you. But I don't wear them every day, so it's fine. So it's the things that you're wearing every single day, the wardrobe that you consider like the one you're going to, you need to be able to see everything. So, as an example to your question with drawers, I'm a big fan of people call it different things, but like some people call it like the magazine fold. It's what Marie Kondo made really popular. So, rather than stacking t shirts on top of each other, you're actually putting them sideways so you can see every single one. That's been totally game changing for my clients. I did that to all my husband's drawers and he was blown away. He was like, what do you mean I know what I have now? Like, I didn't know this was possible in a drawer. So, those kinds of things. It's not about everything being out in the open because that's not realistic. But whenever you are going into the drawer or the cabinet or opening the closet doors, you can see all of the things that are in there.
Got it. So knowing what you have, putting it in a place where they're like things are together, like your formal wear when you need them. And then, yeah, how did we function before the vertical folding method? Like, how is that? I don't know, right? Interesting. It's so crazy because it is. It's so subtle and so simple and yet so life changing. So crazy.
It's also easier to maintain, I think. Like, stuff stays nicer. Because if you're like digging through the pile and you pull out the t-shirt from the bottom, then the three on top and the three below all get wrinkled. Like, if you can just pull it out, it's so much easier for the whole system.
Totally. So if there's anybody that has not converted yet to this, please listen to us. Obviously, we're even, we are converts. So just come on over.
It's so good. I've never heard of anyone regretting this.
Right. All right. So, why do you think getting dressed can feel so overwhelming for many people? Because I know it is one of the things that people struggle with. Getting dressed every day, it can be a challenge. So, how do you think decluttering can help simplify that process?
Yeah, so to answer your first question, that's literally why I have a business. People come to me because they are overwhelmed with getting dressed and don't know how to do it. And so it's a few things. Like, clutter is a huge part of it, but there's also a lot of emotional stuff tied into getting dressed. And people kind of wrap those two things together sometimes, especially like the body change stuff we've mentioned, or, if you're really in a really high pressure job where how you look matters, if you're in sales or if you're, a lawyer and you're in court in front of a judge. I had a client once who told me that male judges don't like to see women lawyers in pants. Like, how you dress literally affects your job in a lot of circumstances. So it's bringing up other stressors you have, or if it's a social event and, someone you always feel like you have a deficit with is going to be there. You want to look really great, but then you feel overwhelmed by what that means. And you don't, you've gained 5 pounds and you feel weird about that. And that makes you feel more feeling. So all of that stuff really comes up when you're getting dressed. So that, plus if your wardrobe is disorganized, if it has a lot of old things in it that need to go but haven't gone, that can make it incredibly overwhelming too. I like to talk about a wardrobe as a toolbox. Every time I give this analogy, I realize how little I know about tools, but I always say if you had a hammer that was missing the top part, I don't know what that's called, the hammer part, you wouldn't keep it in your toolbox. You'd throw it away. A toolbox should only contain things that are useful to you right now. So if you have jeans that are 3 sizes too small from when you were 25 in there, and every day as you're kind of going through the clothes and saying, I'm not in the mood for this, I don't want to wear this, I wore this yesterday, and then you come across those jeans from when you were 25, every single day you're having that feeling of, oh, these jeans are too small, this makes me feel bad about myself. And having even that micro moment, it might even be 1 second, shorter than 1 second, but causing yourself that pain and bringing up that bad feeling. And also, from a more utilitarian perspective, just having something in there that you cannot possibly wear, it's making you feel bad for no reason. It's taking up space for no reason. It's taking up mental space for no reason. So that's why I'm such a big proponent of the closet cleanouts and the regular closet cleanouts, because your closet should only contain things that fit you today. Otherwise, it's not going to be as useful. And the more things that are mixed in there that do not work, the more the whole thing just feels like garbage.
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, too many choices create overwhelm, right? And then if it doesn't go together, then it's like, okay, I can wear this specifically with this one thing for this one occasion. And I don't go to that occasion very often, but it's just taking up valuable real estate for things that you could love and that could make you feel good about yourself every day as well.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And the other thing too that's so funny, that when people get nervous about getting rid of stuff, they're like, "Oh my God, but if I got rid of all the stuff that didn't work for me, I wouldn't have any clothes left." I'm like, "Babe, you're not wearing that stuff now already."
Yeah. I was just going to say that. I'm saying at the same time, you're not wearing it now. So what does it matter? If it doesn't work for you, if it doesn't fit, yeah, you're not able to wear it at the moment anyway.
That is a hurdle a lot of folks, like, once I say that to them, they're like, "Oh, duh." Like, of course. But there is a feeling that we have to have a full closet.
Interesting. Ah,
People think they need more than they actually do need. Like, jeans are a perfect example of this. Like, I would say the average client of mine has 20 pairs of jeans before we start. And they're really only wearing 2 to 3, but they're probably like 6, 7 that work. And they're like, but this isn't enough jeans. And I'm like, you only have one body. There are only 7 days in a week. You don't wear jeans every day. You can re-wear jeans multiple times in a week. Like, the math is not mathing here. People just have this misconception that they need more than they actually do. So once I talk people through that, it helps them kind of let go and get to a place where they can start letting things go that they don't need.
yeah. So interesting. I love how you said that at the beginning of, we feel like we need a full closet. So if we have the space, we feel like we need to fill it in order to feel like we have all the things we need. But yeah, so true. As you start to break it down, you don't actually need all that stuff. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're speaking my love language.
The other thing on that too is that people are always like, "Oh, I wish my closet looked like a store." I'm like, in a store, the clothes are not jam packed in. A store looks beautiful because every item is 1 inch apart. I actually have one client who's, well, she's, I hate to pick favorites, but she's one of my favorites. She did not need to learn this lesson. She's so good about getting rid of stuff that doesn't work, buying really intentionally. And her closet is the most beautiful place on earth because it's spaced out. Every hanger is 1 inch away from the next hanger. She also is one of us and like, it makes her feel good to have it look good. But yeah, just like fighting that need that it needs to be packed. It's also better for your clothes to have more space because when they're jammed in, they all get wrinkled and then that creates a whole cycle. Oh, this is wrinkled. I don't want to wear it. And you just jam it back in and you end up never wearing it because you're not going to be like, oh, I'm going to steam it now for when I want to wear it, but then jam it back in. Like it just doesn't make sense. So that's another side benefit of having a little less is that everything stays in better condition.
Ooh, I like that little side benefit. I'm always for side benefits. Okay, what are some of the common wardrobe decluttering mistakes that you see people make, and how can we avoid them?
Yes, this is a good one. So I think people get, once they get in the headspace of decluttering, they get a little overexcited and are just like, I'm going to get rid of 70% of the stuff in here. And I appreciate that energy, but it's not just about indiscriminately getting rid of stuff. Every item has to be thought out. I do not believe in the if you haven't worn it in a year, get rid of it rule. I will die on that hill. Like, that is not correct. And let me tell you why. A lot of the things people aren't wearing, it's because they don't know how to style them. I hear this all the time. I love this top. It feels so much like me, but it's kind of weird. And I don't know what pants to wear it with, and I don't know where to wear it. So I just never wear it, but I love it. And I'm happy every time I see it in my closet, but I don't know what to do with it. So a lot of times those people have either never worn the thing or they've only worn it once. They haven't worn it in 5 years, but they want to wear it. It fits, they love it. So that is a huge use case for the once a year thing. And then the other kind of similar one is that people, this is one of my highest performing TikToks, funny enough, is about this. People over categorize their clothes.
What do you mean by that?
So they'll obviously, temperature and weather is a thing that you can't really fight. Like, you're not going to wear a really thick sweater in summer. Fine. But people will say, like, I had a client, for example, who said, I need more black t-shirts. And I was like, great. We were going through her closet. I found 3 black t-shirts and like kind of tucked away somewhere. And I was like, hey girl, what are these black t-shirts? She goes, oh no, those are summer t-shirts. And I was like, what makes them summer t-shirts? She goes, I don't know. I just like to wear them during the summer. And I was like, cool, but like, no. They're just cotton t-shirts. There's nothing summery about them particularly. And I was like, we don't need to buy black t-shirts. You have 3 perfectly good, and like, I know what brand these are. I know how much you spent on them. You should be wearing them more than 3 months a year. So things like that, where people will say, oh, this is a going out top. But I'm like, actually look at it. Like, it's not showing too much of your body. It's not sequin. There's no reason you couldn't wear this to brunch or like to a client meeting or whatever. So people just create these categories in their minds for clothing and then limit how much they're using them. And that is like such a big unlock for people when I talk them out of doing this. So that's another reason people aren't wearing their clothes enough. Like, it might be like you categorize this as a going out top and you're 39 and have 3 kids. You go out once every 2 years. Yeah, you're not wearing it. But if you rethink about it, you can wear it to a kid's birthday party if you style it a little bit differently.
So good. Well, and then, yeah, you're in fact increasing their wardrobe without ever having to shop, which is so lovely.
Exactly. And yeah, so shopping is a part of, my work with people, but it's funny, like recently, several clients who, once we did the closet edit, got rid of stuff, saw what they had, started putting outfits together. I was like, you don't need to shop. Like, I'm not letting you shop. We're not doing it. For both of them, there are a couple things that it was like, this thing that you wear all the time, you've worn it out, let's replace it. It was like, I'll pull a few links for you, but we are not shopping. Shopping will not serve you. You have what you need. Like, for one of them, for example, she was going through a life transition, so she was wearing her clothes differently, and she was the one with the black summer t-shirts who was really into categorizing stuff. And when I started breaking those things down and putting together outfits of all the things she had, she was like, oh my god, I had no idea I had A, such great clothes, and B, clothes that already serve the purposes I need them for, that I'm just thinking about them differently. So when people are struggling with their style, shopping is not always the answer.
I love that you don't start with shopping. I love that it starts with, what's already there and working with the lifestyle, because we do not need to add more stuff to our lives, people. We more than likely have plenty.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely are circumstances where shopping is part of the answer, but I never make that assumption because there are people for whom it's just like, you don't know what you have, or you need to style it differently, or need to think about it differently, or you actually just aren't giving yourself enough credit. I said that to a client recently. I was like, girl, you have great stuff that looks good on your body, that is appropriate for your job, that makes sense for your out of work life. You just need to trust yourself a little more. And that, I was like, we're not, we're buying these handful of things that are very specific that you need for whatever, but you don't need a big shop.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, fill in the holes. So, one thing I want to ask about, you're getting into this idea of confidence, right? Being confident in what you own and what you have. So, how does an organized wardrobe help people then feel better about their bodies and their overall confidence?
Yeah. So number one is what I was talking about earlier, is just removing all of the things of not only former sizes and shapes of your body, but also former lifestyles. Like something I see a lot with new moms is they have all these going out tops, and they're like, it makes me feel bad because it makes me like kind of more in that life. But obviously, I'm so happy to be in the life I have now. So it's not just, oh, those jeans are too small. It's maybe that top fits you perfectly, but you're not going to wear it for the next 5 years at minimum. Like you're just not, I mean, that's not true for every single mom, obviously. People have different plans and situations and whatever, but that's a conversation I find myself having a lot too. So the decluttering piece, to just distill down your wardrobe only to items that serve you from a lifestyle perspective, from a style perspective too. That's another one that's huge. Like people's style and what they like evolves over time. I did a closet edit with a client recently who, her body shape hadn't changed at all, but she moved from one city to another and changed industries. And with that, her taste significantly changed. She moved from San Francisco to New York, style wise, very different universes, and moved from having a corporate job to working for herself. So in her San Francisco corporate job life, she was working, she was like in an office, a lot of gray, a lot of just generic feeling stuff. And now being a creative independent consultant, living in New York, she can express herself a lot more. She can wear more colors, more interesting shapes. So we just got rid of a lot of sad gray office wear that she was like, it fits, it's fine, but I don't like it. It like gives me the ick. It's not doing anything for me.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and how nice to be able to now get to express herself a little bit more through her clothing, which is so lovely. Another thing I want to talk about is body acceptance and how that plays into the work you do, and how can women embrace their unique style regardless of size and shape, regardless of what our bodies are going through. How can we live in the here and now? I do know a lot of women are concerned about, what if I go up in size? What if I go down in size? And how do we live with where we are now and be confident in that acceptance part?
Yeah, I could speak for hours about this question, but I'll give some smaller nuggets on this. So, from a very practical perspective, from like a clutter and organization perspective, I my ideal situation is that people only own things that fit their current body. However, I recognize also a kind of unrelated, I don't apply that rule when people are planning to have more kids, because you're going to be yo-yoing. So in those cases, we don't get rid of anything. We just put it in bins. The key is to have it out of the closet. I don't want you looking at it every day if it does not fit on your body as it is right now. So if you're going to have more kids, or if you just are a person, bodies are different. There are people who fluctuate 30 to 40 pounds, and that's just a normal part of being themselves. That's totally fine, but it's out of the closet. It's in a plastic bin in your garage for you people with houses. It's in a space bag under your bed, or it's in that one little part of your closet that you can't see. That's a perfect use for that place. So I don't want you looking at it every day. That said, if you are storing things that are not in your current size, only store the good things. Like the maternity leggings that you already wore for two kids that have holes in them that are stretched out, let, let them go. Like We're only keeping things that are adding value to our lives, even if it's for another body shape or size. So that's kind of practical section one. Section two, I would say from an emotional perspective, number one, recognize it's not your fault that you feel this way. We grew up in a society where thinness and whiteness and blondness and tallness and white teethness and all of the things are so valued, and all of this was drilled into us, and it's not our fault that we feel bad about ourselves because of all this messaging. If you watch TV or read magazines or just existed in the world, saw billboards even. So number one, forgive yourself. It's not your fault that you feel bad about your body and how it's changing, and that's not a moral failing. But number two is that it's time to move forward from there. One thing that I always encourage people that I think is just like a really easy, quick win is to, especially if you're on social media, audit your media diet, audit who are you following. If you are, I'll give myself as an example. I'm 5'2", I'm a size 6'8", 6/8, depending on the brand and the day and how many cookies I ate the day before. And if I am following a bunch of influencers, and I'm 38 years old, and the gray hair has very much begun. If I'm following a bunch of 22-year-old blonde, 6 foot tall, 90-pound influencers, I'm not going to think how my body looks is good. So that's a very easy solve. Now, what's so cool about the influencer economy now is part of how they get people to find them is influencers are using like hashtags and creating content specifically naming like petite or curvy or mid-size or brunette or whatever, red hair, whatever their identifying features are. So I very strongly encourage all of you out there to find influencers that look like you and follow them, because as an influencer, one of their jobs is to just look glam and be hot and wear nice clothes. And if you can see someone who has your body doing that, you're going to get more used to the idea not only that body is fine and acceptable, but that body can look so hot and be in, trendy items if trends are what you're into, or wear things that are revealing regardless of your size or whatever the thing is. You'll find there's so many influencers out there now. You can find someone who is roughly looks like you and roughly has the taste that, the style you want or like something you aspire to. So that alone is like such a game changer, especially if you're addicted to social media. Like I know I am. I can blame it on my job because I do have to be on Instagram for work, but I've always been like this. So yeah, just like the being really thoughtful about the images that you're consuming every single day is a huge way to just like start reshaping your brain. Another piece of media that I recommend to everyone, not just because I love it, but because it celebrates bodies of every shape, size, and color, is RuPaul's Drag Race. I mean, it's a great show. It's so entertaining. The fashion, the comedy, whatever. I love it. But if you pay attention, if you look at every single season, every girl looks totally different. There are tall ones, there are short ones, there are skinny ones, there are curvy ones, every color of the rainbow. Like and they all look beautiful. It's literally their job to look beautiful. So, like, it's another big source of inspiration for me for body acceptance and just like changing what your brain thinks is okay.
Yes, putting the right inputs in front of you, because yes, you can see, if you can see it represented, then you can believe it for yourself. Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, really fun. And I love the idea of unfollow the people that don't make you feel worthy, that don't make you feel good, that don't help you in your daily life. It's just adding to the noise. And there is so much noise in the world right now that if you can carve out your little space, and it's okay to unfollow someone, you might hurt their feelings. It's fine. They might not notice. They might. It's okay. But you got it.
Influencers won't notice, I promise. If it's someone you know, just mute them. They will literally never know.
Good point. There you go. There's the tip I wanted. Okay, perfect. Yes. And it's okay. Like you need to carve out, put yourself first, right? Sometimes it's okay, especially if you're a mom, you're already putting so many people in your family before you a lot of the times. It is okay to put yourself first. in areas that matter to you. And you having the right mental space is super important. You're going to be able to help everyone else around you so much more when you are in the right mental space. So thank you. All right, off our soapbox.
Yes, another hill I will die on for sure.
It's a good one. It's a good one. All right. So, someone who is struggling with sentimental clothing or just in case items, things that they're holding on to and they're just struggling to let them go, what tips do you have for them? Because I know this can be so hard, especially with our clothes. We're already talking about how ingrained they are in, how we feel about ourselves. So, whew.
Yes. I love this one because I feel like my response to this always breaks people's brains. Sentimental clothing items are not clothes anymore. They're mementos. They belong with your photos, with keepsakes from vacations, with your wedding album. Like some crazy sweater your great aunt who you loved, who passed away, bought you that you're never going to wear is not actually a clothing item anymore. It does not belong in your closet. It belongs with other sentimental items wherever you keep those things. I would never tell someone to get rid of a sentimental clothing item ever. I'm not in that business. I'm not in the breaking hearts business. It's I those things, I mean, I still have my wedding dress. That thing will never fit me again. But it's for whatever reason important to me to still have it. Is it in my closet mixed in with my jeans and my t-shirts that I wear every day? No, because it literally doesn't fit and probably won't. But, and even if it did, I'm not going to wear it. It's not a part of your wardrobe. It's a part of your emotional life, your memories, and those things live in a completely different place.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Love it. That is, I mean, what are you supposed to give snaps for that? Like, that was so good. Yeah. No, really good. So, yeah, it is true. And it's once you make that shift, I love that idea of it's not clothing anymore. It has become something else. And I talk about that with toys your kids don't want to declutter. Yeah, or like they're ready to let go of it, but you're not. Well, then it's not their thing anymore. It's yours. You have to, yes, recategorize it, take it out of where you originally had it or thought it needed to be, and put it where it should go, which at this point is no longer in your closet. So, yeah, super good.
Exactly. Yes. And then to answer your other question about just in case items, this is where you need to have a difficult conversation with yourself because I would say 70% of the time someone talks to me about a just in case item, I'm like, that reality doesn't exist anymore in your life. A lot of times, a lot of the just in case stuff is work related. It's very common. So people will be like, oh, when I was a corporate lawyer, I like loved this dress and I wore it all the time, but like now I'm a lawyer at a nonprofit and being a corporate lawyer like removed my soul from my body and I'm never going to do that again. I'm like, cool, so you don't need this. They're like, but what if I do? I'm like, you just said being a corporate lawyer is something you will never do again. If so many things change in your life that you have to go back to a career you hated, having this one dress still is just going to be so low on the priority list. It literally doesn't matter. So yeah, but there are things people have said like, I don't know, just in case, like funeral dresses are a huge one for the just in case, which I'm like, yes, keep always. So many women are like, yeah, I have this black dress. I don't love it, but like it fits fine and it's appropriate for a funeral. Like, is it crazy to keep it? And that's the one thing where I'm always like, keep it. If you have to go to a funeral, the last thing you want to do is go shopping. What a nightmare. So that's the one exception where always keep it as long as it fits. But most other things, you just have to have a really honest conversation with yourself. Is this just in case scenario real? And if you're not sure, sometimes you just can't get in there. Ask your best friend, ask your partner, ask your mom, ask someone who knows your life really well and who you trust and get their perspective. Um, and again, with the just in case stuff, it doesn't have to live in your everyday closet. It can live wherever you store things you don't need all the time.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, there's one more question I want to ask you in this kind of practical tips section because you emphasize flipping typical style advice on its head. So, can you share an example of unconventional advice, which you've been giving us already today, that you've given that transforms someone's wardrobe?
Yeah, so this is the larger theme here is throw fashion rules in the trash. This is the thing that I think surprises people the most because, again, we're all women in our 30s and 40s. We grew up in this like media culture, especially fashion magazines, where like every piece of advice was just like, this is how you look thinner, this is how you look taller. And so much of that is ingrained in us in ways we don't even realize. I have a lot of clients who are anti horizontal stripes. And they're like, oh, I saw, like, they'll send me a screenshot of an influencer and they're like, she's wearing horizontal stripes. Like, I thought that wasn't allowed. Literally allowed. People say that to me. Horizontal stripes is the most obvious example because every single human alive has heard that. And I'll say, like, A, do you like them? Do you want to wear them? Because if you do, let's at least put them on your body. And B, this is my favorite thing. I actually just learned this a couple months ago. There was a scientific study performed that examined if horizontal stripes actually make things look wider. And it wasn't even about fashion, it was like showing it in rectangles and shapes. Like it was more of a geometry situation, but it was cited in some fashion publications. And horizontal stripes do not make things look wider. It's not even true.
That's hilarious. Oh my gosh.
So I love telling people that. That said, like for me, style is not about looking narrower, looking thinner, looking taller. It's about expressing yourself and trying on fun things and wearing things that make you feel good. But if that is something that's like a block in your head that you're stuck on, A, it's literally not true. But B, also just try it on. Like I also grew up in that culture and I've never been skinny or tall. And I wear horizontal stripes all the time now. It's like half of my tops are horizontal stripes. I'm actually shocked I'm not wearing one right now. But so yeah, that's one that just comes up constantly. But it's really like the overarching thing is just like breaking the fashion rules and wearing, or at least trying, giving the things that you thought you weren't allowed to wear a try, both from what society has told you about relating to bodies and not. Like people, mixing black and brown or black and navy, wearing two patterns together at once. I literally posted a photo of myself on Instagram wearing a plaid jacket and a horizontal stripe t-shirt. And one of my followers responded and said, I didn't know that was allowed. And then I just thought that was so interesting. That was the language she used. I followed up and did a poll and was like, did you know this was allowed? Like, how do you feel about this? And a lot of people, I've clearly found my people because there was a good portion of people who were like, yes, and I love mixing patterns. I do it all the time. But a lot of people were like, I'm like pattern mixing curious. I also didn't know it was allowed. So, yeah, just like throwing away the things that you've heard that are a thing. And also, I'm not saying everyone who works with me has to wear horizontal stripes and has to mix patterns. It's just like, don't let that be a boundary for your style.
Yeah. Well, and it's so interesting how hard it is to get past these mental blocks that we don't even know we have, that they've just been ingrained in us. I had one of these experiences somewhat recently over Christmas when I was decluttering stuff, and I got totally called out on Instagram for holding on to cardboard boxes for ornaments that I'd already taken out of the box. And I was like, oh my God, like I still have this idea that things are going to be worth something someday. Even though I talk about it all the time, it still comes up. And it's so interesting that there are always layers to these. So it is so imperative that we go back to these things time and time again and just check in again and be like, does this serve me right now? Is this good for me? Am I holding on to it out of guilt or because I have this deep seated belief that I didn't even realize was still there? And so, yeah, I love that I got called out on it because it totally woke me up out of a stupor of just like, whoa, so true. And, I talk about this stuff all the time and I still have the problem. So if you're sitting here listening to this and you're going, I feel really bad that I didn't know this stuff. Don't worry about it. It comes up in all sorts of different ways, and we're learning and we're moving past, and we are going to make things a little bit better for ourselves and in our closets.
Totally. And it's funny too, as professionals, I love that you just owned up to that and that your followers called you out on that. As I'm saying this whole thing about, sweetheart, your life is different now. I literally did a closet edit 2 days ago. And this dress that was like my lucky, like when I had a corporate job, it was like my job interview dress, my presentation dress. It just, I felt like a cool, like corporate Barbie in it. It's still in my closet. I put it on 2 days ago and I was like, I know I don't need this, but I love it. I'm never gonna wear it. I also bought it at Zara in 2007. It's just not a thing that needs to be in my closet. That said, I am breaking my own rule and I'm keeping it because it makes me happy to have it in there.
Well, but I think you are talking there too about things that make you feel good. And that is different than something where you look at it and has sentimental value and you go, oh, there's a different feeling there. So I think it's okay because you're like, when you look at that, you feel confident and empowered and it makes you feel good about yourself. Even though you're in a different stage, it might be kind of like a look how far I've come. Like, yeah.
Okay, so I'm not breaking my rules. Thank you for that validation. Appreciate it.
No worries. That's why. See, we always got to talk about these things, revisiting. Fantastic. How do you help people start? Like they're listening to this and they're going, okay, I'm energized. This is great. I've got some mindset shifts I'm going to, look at as I go through my closet. Maybe they're going to try this weekend and try to do something. What is something that listeners can take with them as they start to go through their closet so they can start feeling less stressed, start feeling more confident, and really start enjoying what they have in their closet?
Yeah, I love this question. And I think the key to this is doing it in amounts of time and energy that you have and not thinking that a declutter is something you have to do, like block out a whole weekend and spend 15 hours doing. First of all, it won't take you 15 hours. Like my standard closet edit is 3 hours for what it's worth. But you might not, that even 3 hours might seem so daunting and overwhelming to you. You might not have a block of 3 straight hours. That's totally fine. I'm going to give you some examples of things you can do in different chunks of time. So let's say you have 1 hour. One thing you can do is just go through your closet, look at every single item, and make sure it is facing the correct direction. It's hung up nicely. It's not inside out. It's clean. It doesn't have a random barbecue sauce stain on it. Turn all of the hangers to face the same direction, or if it's one of those closets where like the left face is in and the right face is in, whatever that is for you, just straighten everything up. That shouldn't take more than an hour. It'll probably take less than an hour for most closets. That alone will make your closet an easier place, an easier thing to look at, an easier place to be. While you're at it, if you see things that are like wildly in the wrong place and you want to move them, cool. On a smaller scale, you can just go through one section at a time. When you have half an hour, 20 minutes, just like grab a foot of closet rod and just look at everything on there. Get rid of whatever doesn't work. Reorganize what's in the wrong place. 1 foot at a time. Do your closet that way. In a couple months, you'll be done. And it won't feel so painful. It won't feel so overwhelming. It won't feel so scary. And probably on days when you have more time, you'll get into it. You'll keep going. But you don't have to. So that's, if you have 20 minutes, half an hour, just do 1 foot of your closet, like 1 foot on a rod or one drawer. So that's another small way. And then the smallest way that is one of my favorite things. And I recently had a client who said we hadn't done a closet edit together in a while. And she told me she started doing this and she was so obsessed with it. Put a trash bag in your closet. Just give it a home. Find a place where it fits and it's not in the way. On the floor, probably. Every time you get dressed, if you put something on that you don't like, just put it in there. Once it's full, take it to donate or sell or however you dispose of things. This way, you're not putting things back once you know they're bad. Bad can mean you don't like it, it doesn't fit, it makes you feel bad about yourself, it doesn't make sense for your lifestyle. It's not serving you in whatever way. So this way, you're not actually adding any extra time. You're not carving out specific time to do. This is just part of your everyday life. This is actually something I recommend everyone do. Even if you are doing a closet edit, you will miss stuff. And that's just an ongoing practice. When the bag is full and you do whatever with it, replace it with a new bag. So every day you're actually participating in your clutter-free lifestyle, in your organization, in your editing, and it's not costing you any extra time.
Oh, that's so good. And it's true. Like, we're all going to have those days where we put something on and we're like, nope. And so, yeah, is it nope because it doesn't go with the bottom of a top and you're like, it doesn't go with these bottoms? Great, put it back. But yes, if you're sitting there going, "Ugh, I'm never going to wear this," yeah, why would you keep it in your closet? I love that super micro tiny step. That is so brilliant. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's wild how much of a shift. I did this like in my personal life probably a decade ago of just like always having a Goodwill bag going. Like I keep it behind the chair in my bedroom where no one can see it. It just makes such a difference. When you're like, I don't know, I don't have a place to put it. I'll just put it back and deal with this later. If you always have a, donation, whatever bag going, that little, removing that tiny smidge of friction makes a huge difference. And this is something I have heard people say, this applies to everyone. It's just this, it seems so dumb, but it is true for everyone.
Absolutely. And I would encourage listeners, if you have children, put one in their closets as well. And as you put things on and they have a hole in them, they go in there. If it's too small, it goes in there. And it's not necessarily that you're going to donate the things that have holes in them. It's that they're gone out of the closet and you can go through that bag at a different time and take out the things that are not worthy of donating, but you are not going to have to deal with the entire closet later. You're just going to go through that bag. So, yes, absolutely useful for everyone, every single member of your family.
And I will add, the husbands, wives, partners, whatever other person may live in your house, give them one too.
Yes, exactly. I love it. Okay, Gab, this has been fabulous. I know people are going to want to follow up with you, find out more information. So, where can we do that? Where can we find you?
Thanks for asking. So I try to keep it pretty easy. I'm wardrobe editor on Instagram, on TikTok, and on Substack. And my website is just wardrobeeditor.com. So I'm pretty easy to find.
Super easy. We'll still have the link in the show notes so people can click right through. Absolutely. And my favorite way to close out every episode is with 3 rapid fire questions. So the first one is, what does clutter free mean to you?
I love this question. The first thing that comes to mind is a place for everything and everything in its place. I'm sure I'm not the first person to give that answer, but that's just like that phrase really does it.
It really does. And it's shocking how, when everything has a place, it is easy to keep things clutter free as well. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yes, exactly. Because you know where to put it back. You're not just like, oh, just like what we were just talking about with having a donation bag available. If you don't have a place to put it, you're not going to deal with it.
Yep, very true. All right, number 2, what is making you happy right now or in this season of your life?
So, this is one that is so perfect for this podcast. Last fall, my husband and I got custom built ins made in our bedroom that literally doubled our closet space. And I've lived in New York for my entire adult life for 15 years. And this is the first time where I have comfortable storage for everything I own. Like it doesn't, nothing feels jammed in place. And I mean, for who I am, obviously, as I've displayed over the last 40 minutes, I feel like my dreams have come true in a way I never thought would be possible living in New York. So the joy that brings me is never ending.
Oh, that is so nice. And now everything has a place, so everything can be in its place.
There's actually one cabinet that's still empty that I don't know what I'm going to put in. And that's the most luxurious thing as a New Yorker. Like, it's so crazy. I think I might leave it empty just because it's satisfying to know that I can.
Yeah, it's because not everything has to be filled, just like you were saying at the very beginning of this episode. All right, well, number 3, maybe it is your goal for the year, but what is a goal you have for yourself this year?
I love this question. I've actually been thinking about this a lot. One goal I have for myself this year is actually to up level my personal style. It's so funny. I spend so much time telling other people how to do that for themselves. And in the last couple of months, I've been in kind of a feeling like I'm in a rut getting dressed a little bit. And I'm realizing that I've been playing it a little too safe. And I aspire to be the kind of person who wears outfits that people are like, what is that? Whether that's a good or a bad thing. Like, I want to stand out a little more. I want to be, a little more fabulous, a little more kooky. So putting my style energy for myself in that direction a little more intentionally.
Super fun. All right. Channeling your inner Carrie.
Yes, always. Carrie sartorially, more Samantha Miranda hybrid emotionally, but yes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Love it. All right. Well, Gab, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me. It was so much fun.
Well, that was a fun approach to how to declutter your closet and your wardrobe from the perspective of a personal stylist. So, somebody that's actually into fashion and how they work with their tiny closet in order to still have the things they love without feeling overwhelmed. But I would love to know what you thought of this episode. Anything that stuck out to you in particular? Any aha moments you had? What are you going to be looking at as you start to look through your closet and look for things to declutter? I'm really curious. So you can let me know on Instagram. You can send me a DM. I'm at Wannabe Clutter Free, or you can comment on this post, or you can share it in your stories and give me a tag there as well. I would love to hear about it. Or you can also come over to our private Facebook group, the Wannabe Minimalist group, over there and share in the comment section with the community. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And don't forget, if you love the show, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And feel free to leave a rating and a review wherever you prefer to get your podcasts. And a special thanks to Gab for joining us today and sharing her insights on how to clean out our closets and be organized without being overwhelmed while still finding personal style that works for us. And finally, thank you to you for making this show part of your weekly routine. With that, I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you back here next week. Until next time, take care, keep things simple. Go ahead and start with just that one declutter bag in your closet, in everybody's closet, and just start small. Make it part of your daily habit as you're getting dressed to let go of those things that you realize no longer work for you. I believe in you. I know you can do it. I'm Deanna Yates, and you've been listening to Wannabe Clutter Free. I'll see you next week. Cheers.